Hey, what's up everybody? This is Mark from Solar Games, and today is episode 2 of Solar Games Fixes Wizards of the Coast. Today's topic is going to be about building a stronger core audience. So one of the things that I've seen recently in the last 2 or 3 years with Magic that's gone, in my opinion, downhill, is that Magic is starting to lose its own identity. Because, the joke is that Magic is now becoming universes beyond the Gathering. With all these different other IPs coming in, with all these different IPs almost taking front and center, positions on what Magic looks like. For example, what's the best-selling set of 2020? Warhammer Commander decks. That sucks, because what that's saying is people aren't buying Magic for Magic, they're buying for other IPs. They're really interested in something else. What was the biggest secret layer of 2019 and 2020? Secret layer Walking Dead. It wasn't some other Magic secret layer. It was the one that's not a Magic secret layer. And that's a really big problem. And so, look, here's the thing. I'm not against collaboration. I think collaborating with other companies and IPs is great. It is good, but it should be done sparingly. Once in a while, it's fine. But when you do it too much, you start eroding your own IP. And this is the big problem with Magic, with Universes Beyond. So that brings me to the second point, which is stop seeking other brands, IPs for ideas. Those ideas are here too in Magic. In fact, Magic has a really strong identity. The lore of Magic is also very, very interesting. In fact, there's tons of YouTube channels where all they do and all they talk about is Magic lore. And those videos do get a ton of views and they're really interesting. They're captivating. And the people who are narrating these things are great. The problem is that they just don't get the type of mainstream audience that comes in. Your average player doesn't understand Magic lore. They don't know who Liliana is. They don't even know what Planeswalkers are. So it's kind of crazy that Magic has allowed this to happen, where people are playing a game, but they have no further attachment to the game. And that's where I think there's a lot of improvements that Wizards can do. And this is what I would do if I was running the company right now. So the first thing I would do is start building upon what people love. Look, R&D, all the designers, they agree with me on this, right? Build what people love, and don't worry too much about what people hate. Meaning, if somebody hates something and somebody loves that same thing, then you should promote it. So Unset's a great example of this, where some people don't like Unsets, other people love Unsets. So you should release Unsets even though there are people who hate it, because again, the people who love it will really like it. And this is where, there is that element of this product's not for you in this, but at the same time, I in general agree with this kind of methodology or philosophy of building what people love. If somebody loves something, you should give them the thing that they love, even if it's not something they always love, or they might hate other pieces. That's okay, right? But definitely don't give people something don't continue to build things just so that you can dodge, be careful around people, what people hate. I think that's not a good way to design, right? But really this section, I'm not even focusing on gameplay or card design, because I think overall what I've seen so far, it's probably okay. It could be better, right? We could use less bands, we could use better design card, better thought through cards. But given how big and massive Magic is, and given how many new cards are being introduced every year now, the speed, it's understandable that there's some cards that are just going to break older formats, and that Wizards is not testing for older formats, because there's a lot of things coming out, right? I think what I am saying is, though, look, Magic knows this, right? Jumpstart 2022 was a big hint at what is popular. Well, that's TV shows, anime especially. So at this point, look, everybody loves anime. We know that's true. Just make an anime TV show or something, right? So what I would have done, right, was Neon Dynasty had such a great opportunity. In fact, the people who did the anime short for Neon Dynasty, if you have not seen it, go see that right now. It's a great short, right? The animations are well done. The story is compelling from what we see. It's more of almost like a music video, but that should have been a 1.5 hour movie, short movie. It could have been like a 5-episode type of Netflix series. That would have promoted the sales of Neon Dynasty so much more. Now, not that Neon Dynasty really needed any help in that department, because it was a great set. But look, the idea is that you want to build IP where people extend it beyond just the game that they play at the game store or at their friend's house, that there's something else additional to it. And because people are creating content, because if people don't like the content, these lore channels, these other channels are not going to get views. They do get views. Why? Because there are people who are craving that content. And the benefit is, look, if you want to compare to other cases where this is successful, right? Look at Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, that TV show, has single-handedly brought back the sales and playtime and online people for Cyberpunk, the game. Look at Witcher. The Witcher TV show single-handedly sold more Witcher games. That's a big deal. And then we take a look at I don't even need to mention Arcane, right? Arcane is so popular that Magic decided to do a collaboration with not League of Legends, but with the TV show Arcane. Think about how sad this is. You're collabing with somebody else's promotion of their game. You're not even collabing with that game. You're collabing with their promotion of that game. Why don't you build your own anime and you could build in your own secret layer on top of that? You don't need to collaborate with anybody. The other thing to think about that's really dumb here is how much money are you paying for these IPs? Because look, you can't just make Arcane Magic cards for free. I guarantee you Arcane charged them an arm and a leg for their Magic cards to be created. Now, maybe the revenue split is like 50-50 or whatever, but still, that's a lot of money that Wizards leaving on the table when they could be building their own IP instead of tagging onto someone else's, right? Yeah. So, in general, look, I don't know. Specifically, what I would do is this. I would release some generally consumable lore, right? Don't make it super long, no more 20, 30, 100 episode type of TV shows. Nobody's going to sit there for that. 10 episodes is probably all I would go. That's the highest I would do. But maybe a little mini movie or something like that. But release one of this type of content every single set. I know there's going to be some initial cost you have to put into this thing. Yes, you might have to put in 10 million to get this show produced or whatever, anime, something like that. But think about it as marketing, right? Think about it as content that's just going to generate revenue because look, if maybe you can get Netflix to sponsor it, maybe Netflix will pay for the whole thing because they want the content anyways. Look, people were, when Wizards announced Magic, the TV show, people were excited. Nobody was like, we don't need this. People really wanted this content. The problem is, from the way that Wizards was kind of showing this or whatever, demoing it, it was sounding like the content's gonna be super tame, super PG, it's a story about good and evil. Make it more complex. People need complex stories nowadays. Nobody wants to hear a simple story. We need character development. We need good storytelling. And that's the thing. Magic doesn't lack any of this stuff. It has it already in its own storyline, but just make it front and center. Make it really apparent. I played through War of the Spark. I did not know what's going on. That should never happen. A player who's entering Magic for the first time should never not understand what's going on. And I would ask my friends and they couldn't really explain it to me. They're just telling me, they're fighting Nicol Bolas. That's not descriptive enough. Tell me why. Why does Gideon care about Liliana? What's their relationship? That needs to be made clear to a new player as well as people who are in franchise for 10, 20, 30 years, right? Imagine if somebody walks into Marvel Endgame, right? And they watch the show and they're like, wow, this is amazing. They should come out of that wanting to go watch everything before to get up to that point, understand what's going on. But at the same time, they shouldn't sit in the movie and be like, I don't understand what's going on, right? It should make sense in general. The problem is none of that was there. And this is the thing. Why do people generally, a lot of newer players don't even understand that Magic has lore is because how obvious is it, right? Here's another idea I would start doing, right? So for one of the sets, maybe upcoming sets, I would actually release a comic book. They've done this before where they've released a couple comic strips, but I would leave the last chapter, the finality, as a buy a box promo. So you buy a box, you get the hard copy of that comic book. It's just one chapter, super thin thing. Maybe I'll put it inside the box, the booster box. You open it, you'll have one copy of the comic book. Think about how much more boxes you will sell because of this. Again, the people, of course, there's going to be collectors who want that thing, but it's not even a Magic card, so they can't really play with it. It's just more for the story. But just that one little thing is going to help so many people to go and say, hey, I want to buy a box instead of buying a pack because I want to get that comic book, right? And finish the story. And here's the thing, I would not hold it hostage. Probably after a month or two, release the digital copy online so everyone can finish the story. I think it's fine. And then maybe if at the end it's really, really popular, release a 1-volume type of book. If you ever read Japanese anime, you know how this works, manga. They release the chapters inside a magazine. But at the end of the arc or something like that, 10, 12 chapters usually, they'll put it all into one book and it's a book form of those chapters. It's really nice, and those really do look well on a wall where if you have collections of them, something like that. Yeah, again, online stories, right? So release little short stories online that are going to be, are tie-ins to the story. For example, with Phyrexia coming up soon, why are there no stories? There should be stories, not just like what the set is all about. Oh, what are the cards in the set? Those are important, but release the story too, right? Why are we on Phyrexia? What's happened so far? Catching everyone up. What is Teferi doing? What did he do? Why was Brothers War important? To be honest, I played through all these sets. I don't know, dude. I have no fucking clue why Brothers War matters. I have no fucking clue why Urza and Mishra matter. I think it has something to do with the Teferi going back in time, getting their help to go solve a problem. But, dude, I don't know what's going on. And it's like this, right? Like, make it so that a normal player who just play the game has some clue of what's going on. I have no clue. I don't know why there was a war, why Teferi went back in time. I just don't know. I can watch the little cinematic trailers. They look cool, but I don't understand what's going on. There should be more. Make YouTube videos, right? Some content that kind of ties in the lore too. This is really important. And for longer, larger sets like Brothers War, Dominator United, all the sets here, this is so interesting that they didn't do this. But for longer sets, my plan, if I was running the company, would be make like a longer series and then release this like next chapter, next episodes, whatever, as the set's coming out. So you can imagine, right? Brothers War is going to span like, the Brothers War arc from Dominaria United all the way to like March of the Machines and Aftermath. It's going to span almost a year, right? You can have episodes or short movies that span the same time, keep people interested. And before they walk into the set, there's like more details about what's happening. And now you're tying like offline things that have no, again, the benefit of having these TV shows is that people don't need to be playing Magic to consume Magic content. And this is really important, right? You want people to go and continue to consume Magic content so they're engaged. So when the set comes out, they're already hyped up for it. Not just because the cards are good, because that's a whole financial thing that like Wizards is trying to get away from, because you don't want this game to become gambling. And there's a lot of feel bads with opening packs that don't hit value, right? But instead, if it's about storyline, then people might care about cards that don't matter at all because they want to use the cards to tell a story. Now you're putting characters have meaning or collectability even. Like, why do people want Pikachu? I know, in later sets nowadays, Pikachu's really powerful, right? But in earlier sets, Pikachu sucked. I mean, it's okay as a Pokemon. People want the Pokemon because Pikachu is like really important in the anime. Pikachu's the hero, right? Along with Ash. That's why people want Pikachu. That's why Pikachu is such a great card, because Pikachu was like the representative of Pokemon. In the same way, what is that representative for Magic? Can we make sure that that's front and center for people in every set to want to collect, let's say, a card that's not really that powerful, but is so pivotal in the story? You see how like this actually will sell more packs than a lot of other things you could be doing. Okay, next. Go back to the core identity of Magic. What makes Magic really interesting for me personally, and probably for a lot of players? I was reading somebody's comment recently on Reddit, and this person basically said something like, he judges a lot of new players he kind of categorizes people by like how they play their deck, what kind of colors they do, what kind of colors they choose, how they brew their deck, how they build, what kind of things do they draft, what things do they like, what creatures, what mythical things they love, right? And I think that's really interesting. This is just like, a lot of people take these quizzes like, what color of Magic are you? What guild from Ravnica are you in, right? This kind of thing. And it's really interesting because I think that at the core is what Magic, and why at least for me, it draws me to Magic. One of the things, as a kid, right? So sidebar story. As a kid, I love playing like RTS, real-time strategy games. I'm a big fan of RTS. So like I played a lot of like Age of Empires. I played Warcraft 2, those kind of games, right? And Annihilation. Does anybody remember Annihilation? Total Annihilation? What a freaking awesome game, right? One of the problems with a lot of these games is that it was too symmetrical. Maybe for the purpose of being fair, or maybe the purpose of just making it easier to design. A lot of the games felt like it was a cookie cutter symmetrical design, meaning, look, you have right side and left side is the same thing, right? If you have a unit that's melee, I have the same unit at melee at tier 1. And tier 2 would both have a range unit, and tier 3 would both have a whatever. This all changed with StarCraft. StarCraft was the first game, at least for me, that I played, where it was completely not the same. The way that you play Terran and Zerg and Protoss is completely different. Completely different. Terran gets all of Terran units, by the way, so for people who don't play StarCraft, you might think this is super unbalanced, right? All of Terran units are ranged. Every single one. Every single one of Terran's units is ranged. A lot of Zerg units are melee. Protoss gets a mix, right? Zerg units are super expendable. Zerg units, in fact, some Zerg units, they cost half a supply. So in the game, there's a thing called supply. Think of it like mana or like a upkeep, right? Like what you can hold total. Some Zerg units cost half of one, which is like, what do you mean half? So like one egg will hatch 2 Zerglings. Each Zergling is technically half a supply, not one. So a full army for most, races, it's like, let's say you can have 200 Marines. Zerg can have 400 Zerglings, right? These things seem imbalanced. But in actuality, they make the game so much more fun, which is why I really don't like this whole design of putting all the abilities and capabilities of every single color into every single other color. I know that Magic already has primary, secondary, and tertiary. The whole idea, like for example, killing creatures is primary for black. So black can always kill creatures. But secondary, you may put that into like white or something like that. Or tertiary, you might put that into green, right? Destroy something. So that's where, again, Magic is unique in that it's trying to build little wedges in, well, if I play black, here are my inherent weaknesses and my strength. I think that's great. I think that's what makes Magic really interesting. I think this whole recently where it's like, look, white's generally been really bad at drawing cards. And I think it's fine to give them a couple things to draw better, right? And ramp better. But to give white all the things is probably not the right idea. Look, at this point, white is like a really strong color because it can exile anything, which is even better than killing something. It can ramp now. It can draw cards like crazy right now. It can tax people, which a lot of other colors cannot do. Right? You can do stacks type of things. And white has large creatures and white has small creatures. Like there's a point, and it has flying, it has all the other things that other colors sometimes just don't get. It's gone too much. It's gone too much to the point where there's the identity of each color is starting to become like more loose and more blended. And so really go back to that identity. I think core identity of Magic is really strong. So what I would do is actually boost that identity through the TV show, through the sidebar ideas, not just through card design, right? Of course, card design should be there, but boost those core attributes. Make, for example, not against the fact that white can destroy a creature or exile them, maybe perhaps just make it really hard, right? More mana, more conditions, etc. Like green, right? Green can destroy creatures, but it's kind of like you have to have a creature to do the fight effect. So it's not really like you can destroy a creature easily. Something more like that, I think, will be fun. And of course, yeah, there are things that Magic is constantly adjusting and changing, but I don't like that design of blending all the color identity. I think color pie is really strong, and it's one of the elements I think that is very unique for Magic that we should not lose that from this. And then lastly, for this video, take care of the core audience. The core audience is super strong, super important for your game. What does that mean? Look. I don't have the specific numbers for this, okay? But I'd just be curious, how many people really came to Magic because of Universe Beyond? Honestly, I mean, I scroll through some of the Reddit comments about Universe Beyond. From what I'm reading, it's like maybe the other people who came to Magic just kind of bought their secret thing. Like, for example, Doctor Who, I'll buy a secret layer of Doctor Who because it's kind of like a collectible Doctor Who thing outside of the TV show. But as soon as that's done, I'm not playing Magic. I'm going back to doing what I was doing before. Sure, there of course are Doctor Who fans who are Magic players, but that's not going to build your current base. It's just going to make one set sales higher than normal, right? So yes, is it better for the company bottom line? Yes, you're tapping into more markets, but at what cost? Because Universes Beyond is eroding what is Magic. Because is I mean, we joked about this too, right? Which is like, my SpongeBob SquarePants is going to cast a spell on your Homer Simpson. That's what we're getting to. Yeah, it's not that bad right now, but look, at this point, come next year, June-ish, right? Or sorry, this year, June. I don't know when is the next like Modern Horizon going to come out, right? The whole Gandalf thing. But Gandalf's fighting Space Marines. That's where we are right now, guys. Gandalf's fighting Space Marines while Rick Grimes is shooting zombies. Yeah, I mean, and then you got Chun-Li in the corner doing multi-kicker, right? Hadouken's flying over here. You got like people casting spells from Arcane. You got orcs from Warhammer dropping on people. Like, come on, guys. Like, Magic is cool already. We don't need all this extra stuff. Focus on the core audience. The core audience, just like before, right? Focus on what core audience wants. Because I think one of the problems with Universes Beyond is that, unfortunately, it is taking away from the game. Because there's a lot of designs that is designed by another team, and they haven't put the type of thought, effort, and just generally like understanding of like how this is going to affect the bigger, larger market in. And unfortunately, that's, showing through how it's affecting Legacy, how it's affecting other formats. Yeah. So anyways, so that's my, rant on Universes Beyond. But in general, this is what I would do. Building core audience, building a brand IP, the brand of Magic has to be strong. Because if you want to sell Magic cards, you want to continue to do this thing, you cannot lose the brand. And unfortunately, this last year, Magic's taken a big hit on branding, on their idea, on their IP, on their uniqueness. And we got to bring that back, right? Bring it back in a big way by showing the cool things inside Magic, not how Magic can make a card of something else that's really cool. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Mark, Solar Games, I'm out. I'll see you next time. Bye.